As the last Andruvian ships retreated in disarray, the human fleet held the battlefield. The stars above seemed to shine brighter, reflecting the calm confidence that radiated from every human vessel. Humanity had proven once again that they were not a species to be underestimated. In the quiet moments after the storm, Captain Cade stood on the bridge, looking out at the defeated armada. "They thought numbers alone could break us," she said softly. "They were wrong. Always remember this. Humans do not just fight to survive. We fight to endure, to protect, and to remind the galaxy of our strength." The grand battle was over. The Andruvian flagship lay defeated. The galaxy had witnessed humanity at its peak, calm, fearless, and unstoppable. And the legend of humans who smiled even in the face of impossible odds grew ever stronger. The war had ended, not with fanfare or celebration, but with silence and awe. Across the galaxy, the Andruvian fleets had retreated, broken and humiliated. Systems that had trembled in fear now whispered stories of humanity, not as a threat alone, but as a force that embodied courage, intelligence, and honor. For 3,000 years, humans had waited in peace. Now they had risen, and the galaxy would never forget it. On the bridge of the vigilant dawn, Captain Alara Cade stood looking out at the stars. The battlefield stretched behind her, a tapestry of smoke, wreckage, and light. Her crew moved quietly, tending to repairs, checking systems, and preparing for what might come next. Yet there was no fear, only calm confidence. Humans had faced the impossible and survived, not through luck, but through patience, skill, and unity. Commander Jaren Holt approached, his eyes reflecting the victory and exhaustion alike. "They've retreated," he said softly. "The galaxy? They will remember." Alara nodded, her gaze still on the stars. "Yes, they will remember. But it's not enough for them to fear us. They must understand why we fight and how we fight. Strength without purpose is meaningless. Humanity fights not for domination alone, but for survival, for hope, and for life itself." Below, on liberated worlds, humans worked among the people. Cities scarred by war were rebuilt. Families torn apart by occupation were reunited. Schools reopened. Farmers returned to their fields. Children laughed again in streets where terror had once ruled. Human soldiers became teachers, engineers, and protectors, reminding the galaxy that courage was not measured by destruction, but by the ability to restore, protect, and inspire. On Erythra, a small boy tugged at Alara's sleeve. "Will humans always fight like this?" he asked, eyes wide with wonder. Alara knelt and smiled gently. "We will always fight to protect what is right. Fear does not control us, hope guides us. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the will to act despite it. That is humanity." Even in the aftermath of battle, the human fleets maintained vigilance. They did not celebrate recklessly, nor did they seek revenge. They patrolled, they observed, and they ensured that the Andruvian Collective, or any other would-be tyrant, would never underestimate humanity again. The galaxy had tested them, expecting weakness. Humans had given it something far more dangerous: resilience, intelligence, and unwavering confidence. Across alien worlds, whispers of humanity spread like wildfire. They spoke of humans who smiled in the face of impossible odds, who fought without cruelty, and who rebuilt without hesitation. They spoke of a species that was patient yet deadly, merciful yet unstoppable, and entirely unpredictable. Humanity had become legend, not through fear alone, but through example. Captain Cade addressed her fleet one final time before dispersal. "Remember this day," she said, her voice steady and commanding. "The galaxy thought peace had made us weak. It has done the opposite. Humans endure, humans adapt, and humans never forget. Our strength is not only in our weapons, but in our minds, our courage, and our unity. Let this be a message to every species, friend and foe alike. Humanity smiles because we have already prepared, and we fight because life itself is worth fighting for." As the stars stretched endlessly beyond the bridge, the human fleet moved as one, leaving a trail of hope across liberated systems. The galaxy had seen the full measure of human potential: calm in the storm, precision in chaos, and compassion amidst destruction. Humans had endured what others could not, had fought where others faltered, and had reminded every species that courage and intelligence together were unstoppable. And somewhere in the vast silence of space, humanity's quiet smile remained, a promise, a warning, and a legend. The galaxy had tried to challenge them, to inspire fear, and to assert dominance. Humanity had responded with patience, strategy, and compassion. They had survived, and in surviving, they had become immortal in the memory of every star, every planet, and every species across the galaxy. The Armistice was gone. War had come, and humanity had smiled. For 3,000 years, the galaxy had known a peace that was almost unnatural. Wars of old were nothing but stories told in museums and holovids. Empires that had once fought for dominance now traded and negotiated, bound by treaties older than most civilizations remembered. The stars themselves seemed quieter, as if they had learned to shine softly after centuries of witnessing bloodshed. Most species had grown complacent in this calm. They trusted in treaties, in alliances, in promises that had lasted millennia. But humans were different. On the outer edge of the Orion expanse, the human flagship Vigilant Dawn drifted like a silent predator among the stars. Captain Alara Cade stood on the bridge, her posture straight, her silver-streaked hair catching the faint glow of distant suns. Her eyes, sharp and calculating, scanned the void. Around her, the crew moved with quiet efficiency, each person aware of their role, each ready for a war they had trained for but never expected to fight. The air was calm, almost peaceful, yet beneath it lay a tension that could have cut through steel. "Still nothing?" asked Lieutenant Mara Voss, her voice breaking the silence. She had joined the fleet young and had grown up listening to the legends of human resilience. "All quiet," Alara replied, a small smile tugging at her lips. It was a smile that had nothing to do with arrogance and everything to do with confidence. Humans had learned long ago that fear was a tool. One could either let it control you or use it to sharpen the mind. She chose the latter. In another part of the galaxy, the Andruvian Collective, a species known for their relentless expansion and ancient grudges, stirred. Their leaders had long watched humanity from a distance. They remembered the humans as unpredictable, stubborn, and dangerous, but they also remembered the 3,000 years of peace. Now that peace had ended. Across every galactic communication network, a single chilling message spread like wildfire. The Armistice is void. The galaxy is at war. All lesser species will submit or be destroyed. Panic erupted across countless systems. Alien fleets hurried to strategic positions. Star stations fortified themselves, and councils debated in endless loops of fear and indecision. Many species looked at humanity and wondered what they would do. But the humans, they only smiled. On the Vigilant Dawn, Captain Cade called the bridge to attention. "We've been waiting for this," she said softly. Her voice carried no fear, no hesitation, only certainty. The crew looked at her and felt the same calm confidence that she exuded. "The galaxy thinks we are weak because we have known peace. They think we have forgotten how to fight. They are wrong." Her first officer, Commander Jaren Holt, tilted his head. "You really think they will underestimate us after all this time?" Alara's smile widened just slightly. "They already have. That is the mistake that will cost them everything." While the galaxy panicked, the humans did not rush to weapons or stations or defenses. They prepared, studied, and strategized. They analyzed old battle data, designed tactics for a fight that had been a mere possibility for centuries, and strengthened the minds and spirits of their crews. Their ships were not just vessels of war. They were extensions of human ingenuity, resilience, and adaptability. The stars stretched endlessly before them, vast and indifferent. Somewhere, distant suns flickered. Somewhere, alien fleets moved in cold, methodical formations, expecting to dominate a galaxy they believed had forgotten humanity. But humans had never forgotten. They had waited. They had trained. And they had smiled, knowing that when the time came, their patience would become the edge that cut through fear, doubt, and death. As the Vigilant Dawn glided silently among the stars, Captain Cade looked at the crew one last time. 3,000 years of peace have ended, she said. And now we will remind the galaxy why humans survive when others falter. And with that, the calm before the storm held its breath, waiting for humanity to strike. The message had spread faster than light itself. Across the galaxy, alarms blared. Stars' stations flickered with emergency signals, and entire species froze in disbelief. The Andruvian Collective had declared war. 3,000 years of peace meant nothing. The galaxy, which had grown soft and complacent, now faced a threat it had not prepared for. Panic swept through councils and markets, through academies and military outposts. Leaders shouted orders, generals plotted strategies, and diplomats scrambled to negotiate. Every species except one trembled in fear. On the vigilant dawn, the bridge was calm. Captain Alara Cade's eyes were sharp, scanning the incoming intelligence. Reports showed alien fleets mobilizing near key human trade routes, massive dreadnoughts that could swallow moons whole, and squadrons of fighters capable of tearing through entire planetary defenses. Most species would have panicked. Most would have called for surrender or retreated to hidden corners of space. But humans smiled. Admiral Cade, Commander Jaren Holt said, pointing at a tactical display. They're moving faster than predicted. If we don't act, Ilara shook her head. If we act recklessly, we lose. Patience is our weapon, Jaren. They believe fear drives victory. They are wrong. We will strike when they do not expect it. Her crew, seasoned and disciplined, nodded silently. They understood that humans fought differently. They did not charge blindly into battle. They observed, calculated, and adapted. Every move had a purpose. Every decision was measured. While the galaxy panicked at the sight of Andruvian dreadnoughts, humans prepared silently, with a confidence that unsettled even their allies. Meanwhile, the Andruvian fleets expected easy victories. Their admirals had studied human history, expecting hesitation, chaos, and fear. They had watched human colonies for centuries, assuming that peace had made them weak. Every fleet commander believed the humans would crumble under pressure, as every other species would. But humans had waited for this moment, anticipating betrayal and aggression with decades of preparation. They were ready. The first skirmish occurred at the edge of the Vega cluster. Andruvian torpedoes lit the void, turning empty space into a storm of explosions. Most species would have screamed in terror at such destruction, but the humans did not. From the decks of their ships, they watched calmly, tracing each attack with precision. The vigilant dawn deployed countermeasures that not only neutralized the torpedoes, but redirected them back toward the attacking fleet. Ships designed for destruction were rendered useless in a single maneuver. Captain Cade watched the tactical holofeed of the Andruvian admiral's face as it appeared on the comm screen. His eyes widened in disbelief. He had expected chaos, fear, and retreat. Instead, he saw strategy, composure, and resolve. How are they so prepared? He whispered. But there was no answer. Humans had no need to justify themselves to fear. Around the galaxy, whispers began to spread. Humans are different, said one alien admiral, shaking with a knee. They do not panic. They do not flee. They strike back with precision and patience we cannot predict. Back on the vigilant dawn, Captain Cade's voice rang clear. This is only the beginning, she said softly. They think they understand us. They do not. We do not fight for anger nor for revenge. We fight to survive and we fight to win. And the galaxy will learn that humanity never forgets, never falters, and never fears the impossible. The stars stretched endlessly around them, indifferent to the war that was about to ignite. Yet humanity's calm presence was like a silent warning to the galaxy. The humans were ready. They had waited patiently through centuries of peace, and now, when the galaxy demanded fear, humans offered something far more dangerous, a quiet, deadly confidence. As the first explosions lit distant systems, as fleets clashed with unrelenting force, Captain Cade allowed herself a small smile. Not for victory, not yet, but for the certainty that humans, no matter what, would endure. They would adapt. They would conquer. And the galaxy would remember, from this day onward, that when humans smiled, it was never just happiness, it was the promise of unstoppable strength. The Vega cluster had become a battlefield the moment the Andruvian fleets arrived. Massive warships glided through asteroid fields, their dark hulls reflecting the faint light of distant suns. Torpedoes screamed across space, leaving trails of fire and destruction in their wake. Entire moons shook as weaponry far beyond human imagination roared through the void. Most species would have trembled at such a sight, but humans remained calm, almost unnervingly so. On the bridge of the human dreadnought Resolute, Captain Alara Cade stood tall. Her hands hovered over the controls, not in fear, but in anticipation. Every sensor ping, every energy signature, every ship movement was being calculated. All units, hold formation, she commanded. Let them overextend. Let them underestimate us. Her crew, trained through decades of preparation, executed her orders with precision. Human ships moved as if connected by a single mind. a web of steel and strategy weaving itself across the battlefield. Fighters darted in unexpected angles, intercepting missile volleys before they could strike, while larger ships fired countermeasures that disabled entire squadrons without destroying them. Humans did not seek mere destruction. They sought control, dominance, and clarity. From the Andruvian flagship Oblivion's Wrath, Admiral Threx could hardly believe his eyes. They anticipate everything, he growled. Every tactic he devised, every maneuver planned to crush the humans failed spectacularly. Every attack was countered before it landed. The humans did not panic. They did not flee. They fought with a precision that seemed almost inhuman. Captain Cade's voice rang through the comms, calm and commanding. You expected fear. You expected chaos. You underestimated patience and intelligence. Welcome to your mistake. As the battle raged, human ingenuity shone in ways the Andruvians could not have imagined. A squadron of smaller human ships led the enemy fleet into a dense asteroid belt, appearing trapped. Then, with precise coordination, they activated electromagnetic pulses that disabled the Andruvian ship's shields. In moments, the supposedly unstoppable war machines were immobilized, drifting helplessly among rocks that humans had calculated would shield them from return fire. Commander Jaren Holt leaned over Cade's shoulder, whispering, "They're breaking apart. They don't know what to do." Alara nodded. "We give them nothing they expect. That is how humans fight." Even as explosions painted the void with brilliant light, the human fleet maintained order. While the Andruvians panicked at the unexpected efficiency, humans smiled, not out of cruelty but out of the quiet confidence of preparation and skill. Every move was deliberate, every strike calculated, every risk measured. Across the galaxy, observers watched in awe. Reports flooded councils and comm stations. Human tactics defied logic. Patience had become weaponized, and fear itself seemed powerless against them. Aliens whispered to one another, trembling. These humans, they fight like nothing we've ever seen. They are not afraid, they are unstoppable. Amid the chaos, a single human fighter unit, led by young pilot Rin Vallis, executed a daring maneuver. Diving between two massive Andruvian warships, he released a volley of magnetic mines. The ships collided with them in succession, their engines failing, their weapons offline. The young pilot radioed back, voice steady and proud. "They underestimated us, just like we predicted." Captain Cade allowed herself a small, almost imperceptible smile. This was more than a battle. It was a statement. Humanity had waited patiently, survived silently, and now they had arrived, not as pawns, not as victims, but as masters of their own destiny. As the first major engagement came to an end, the Andruvian fleets retreated in confusion, their arrogance shattered, their confidence broken. Human ships, though battered, moved together in perfect cohesion, holding the battlefield as if it were theirs by right. In the cold expanse of space, Captain Cade looked out at the stars. "They thought they would intimidate us," she said softly. "They thought we would tremble. But the galaxy forgets one truth. Humans are not only survivors. We are warriors." The Vega cluster fell silent once more, but this silence was different. It was not the calm before the storm. It was the calm of a storm that had already begun, and humanity had already won the first strike. Weeks passed since the first clash at the Vega cluster, and the galaxy had begun to feel the weight of humanity's presence. Where panic once spread like wildfire, awe and fear now took root. Systems that had cowered behind bureaucratic councils and outdated fleets began to whisper of humans, not as allies or enemies, but as a force unlike any other. Humanity moved with precision, intelligence, and patience. They did not just fight. They controlled, adapted, and endured. On the human command station orbiting the liberated colony of Ardentis, Captain Alara Cade reviewed reports from the front lines. Andruvian supply lines were disrupted. Entire fleets had been crippled, and occupied worlds were being freed faster than anyone had thought possible. Each strike by the humans was surgical, calculated to minimize unnecessary destruction while maximizing strategic impact. The galaxy's other species watched in disbelief. How could a civilization that had known peace for 3,000 years fight with such deadly efficiency? Commander Jaren Holt joined her, pointing at the latest intelligence feed. "They expected us to retreat, to hide, to beg for peace. Instead, we've turned their advance into chaos." Alara's eyes gleamed. "Patience is a weapon no one respects until it is too late. They have underestimated us at every turn, and that mistake will cost them everything. On one liberated world, human troops marched through cities once occupied by the Andruvian collective. They did not pillage. They rebuilt. They restored order and hope. Children laughed again in streets once scarred by occupation. Farmers returned to their fields. Hospitals reopened. And everywhere humans went, they left a message not of dominance but of resilience. One small boy tugged at the sleeve of a human officer. "Are humans not afraid?" he asked, his wide eyes reflecting the destruction around him. Captain Cade, walking among the liberated civilians, knelt and smiled gently. "We have faced fear," she said softly, "but we never let it control us. Smiling does not mean we are not afraid. It means we will not let fear decide our actions." Back in space, the Andruvian fleets grew restless. Their admirals could not understand why humans fought with calm precision. Their weapons, superior in size and firepower, were being rendered ineffective by tactics they had not anticipated. Entire supply convoys disappeared before reaching their destination. Key command hubs were neutralized without a single civilian casualty. The Andruvians realized they were no longer in control. The humans had become the hunters and they were the prey. Captain Cade gathered her fleet for a strategic briefing. "They believe numbers alone can crush us," she said.
"They are wrong.
"Strategy, intelligence, and patience will always overcome brute force. Every move we make should be deliberate. Every attack calculated. We fight not to destroy blindly, but to win with precision and honor." Across the galaxy, human actions began to inspire. Other species, once terrified and passive, began to follow the humans' example. They learned to resist occupation, to think strategically, and to trust in their own strength. Humanity was no longer a single civilization. It had become a symbol, a warning to tyrants, a beacon to the oppressed. The Andruvian collective, once supremely confident, now faced growing mutiny within their ranks. Officers whispered in fear, questioning how a species that had known peace for millennia could possess such deadly efficiency. In calm courage, Admiral Threx's voice, once commanding, now trembled over encrypted channels. "They fight, like predators who have been waiting their whole lives." Captain Cade watched the star systems below her fleet. Each liberated world was a testament to human endurance, intelligence, and courage. The galaxy had declared war, hoping to intimidate humanity. Instead, humans had transformed fear into opportunity, patience into power, and smiles into strategy. And in the silence between the stars, one truth became clear. The turning point had arrived. Humanity was no longer merely defending itself. Humanity was taking control of the war, and every enemy that had underestimated them would soon learn the cost of such arrogance. War was raging across the galaxy, but amidst the explosions, strategy, and chaos, humanity's heart shone brightest. On the liberated colony of Erythra, the streets bore the scars of occupation. Buildings were burned, marketplaces were destroyed, and the terrified citizens peered from shattered windows as human soldiers moved through their city. Yet these humans did not march like conquerors, they moved like protectors. Captain Alara Cade walked among the civilians, her silver-streaked hair brushing softly against her uniform. Children stared at her with wide eyes, some hiding behind trembling parents. One small boy stepped forward, clutching a broken toy ship. Are humans not afraid?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Alara knelt to his level, smiling gently. "We faced fear before," she said softly. "Many times. But being afraid does not mean we fail. It means we learn, we prepare, and we act. Smiling does not mean we are not afraid. It means we will not let fear decide what we do." The boy's eyes lit with understanding, and for the first time in months, a small smile appeared on his face. Around them, humans helped rebuild homes, repaired water systems, and restored electricity. They healed wounds, comforted the frightened, and brought hope where despair had taken root. Every action spoke louder than weapons. Humans fought not only to win the war, but to save life, to protect innocence, and to remind the galaxy that courage was not measured by destruction alone. In the skies above, human fleets continued to strike the Andruvian supply lines, yet even in these battles, restraint was practiced. Entire squadrons were captured rather than destroyed. Ships were disabled instead of annihilated. Captain Cade believed that true strength lay not in slaughter, but in control. "We do not fight for revenge," she told Commander Jaren Holt. "We fight to ensure life continues, even amidst chaos. We fight because it is right, not because it is easy." Back on the front lines, young pilot Rin Vallis maneuvered his fighter through debris fields, avoiding enemy fire while guiding civilian evacuation transports to safety. He radioed to his squadron, voice calm and steady. "Keep them safe. Every life matters. That is why we fight." Across the galaxy, reports of human compassion began to spread. Freed colonies celebrated their liberators. Allies marveled at the balance of strength and morality, and even some Andruvian officers began to question their mission. How could a species so patient, so calculating, also show such mercy? Humanity was rewriting the rules of war. Captain Cade gathered her officers aboard the Vigilant Dawn for a briefing. "The galaxy underestimates humans," she said. "They see us as fighters, as strategists, as survivors. But we are more than that. We are protectors. We are leaders. We are a reminder that strength without morality is empty." Commander Holt nodded, understanding the weight of her words. "Every liberated world sees it, Captain. They will follow our example." Ilara's gaze drifted to a distant star, the glow reflecting softly in her eyes. "It is not enough to defeat them," she whispered. "We must show the galaxy that courage is not the absence of fear, but the will to act despite it. That hope can shine even in the darkest corners. That life is worth every risk." In the quiet moments between battles, humans rebuilt. They comforted. They inspired. And they smiled even when surrounded by destruction. That smile was not arrogance. It was confidence. It was defiance. It was the promise that humanity would endure, that no enemy could break their spirit, and that the galaxy would remember the lesson for generations to come. Humans do not just survive. They uplift, protect, and inspire even in the heart of war. And as the stars stretched endlessly above the liberated world of Erythra, Captain Cade stood on a rebuilt platform looking down at the people she had saved. For the first time in decades, laughter filled the streets and hope blossomed where fear had once ruled. Humanity's heart had been revealed, and the galaxy would never forget it. The Andruvian flagship Oblivion's Wrath loomed like a dark sun at the edge of human space. Its massive hull stretched across kilometers, bristling with weapons capable of obliterating planets. Entire fleets followed it, confident in their might and certain of victory. They believed humans, despite their cunning, would falter in the face of such overwhelming force. They were wrong. On the bridge of the human dreadnought Vigilant Dawn, Captain Ilara Cade surveyed the approaching armada. Her crew worked in synchronized silence, each officer attuned to the rhythm of strategy and anticipation. "This is it," she said, her voice calm but carrying the weight of command. "They want war. Let's give them a lesson they will never forget." Every human ship moved as part of a single organism, a deadly network of precision and coordination. Fighters darted through debris, drawing Andruvian fire into traps, while larger ships launched calculated volleys to disable key weapon systems. Humans had prepared for this moment for centuries, and every tactic, every maneuver, every decision reflected that preparation. Admiral Threx of the Andruvian Collective believed his fleet was invincible. "Destroy them quickly," he barked, anger and disbelief mingling in his voice. "They are only one species, less than a fraction of our combined strength." But the humans did not attack blindly. They exploited weaknesses, predicted moves, and countered with a patience that seemed almost supernatural. Captain Cade watched the tactical display, fingers hovering over controls. "Focus on the flagship," she ordered. "The rest will follow." In an instant, human squadrons executed synchronized strikes, breaching the outer defenses of the Oblivion's Wrath. Mines detonated with perfect timing, disabling engines and knocking out weapon arrays. The massive flagship lurched, its movement slowed, and panic rippled through the Andruvian fleet. From within the enemy command center, Threx's eyes widened in horror. Impossible. They predicted every maneuver. They fight differently, but it was too late. Human boarding ships launched, infiltrating the flagship with precision, neutralizing critical systems from within. Every Andruvian officer faced the human resolve firsthand, disciplined, fearless, and unwavering. Amid the chaos, Captain Cade's voice cut across encrypted channels. "You chose war," she said. "You underestimated us. This is your lesson." Her calm tone contrasted sharply with the destruction surrounding them. Humans did not shout. They did not panic. They acted with clarity and confidence. Even as Andruvian ships fell one by one, human vessels preserved what could be spared. Captured enemies were treated with honor. Ships were disabled rather than destroyed where possible. Humanity fought not for vengeance alone, but to assert their strength while upholding principles that bound them together. Every action reflected not just power, but wisdom. Young pilot Rin Vallis led a daring strike through the chaos, guiding a crippled Andruvian ship safely away from an asteroid field. "We don't destroy unnecessarily," he said, voice steady over comms. "We fight with purpose." The Oblivion's wrath groaned under the combined human assault, its once mighty weapons silenced, its engines immobilized. Admiral Threx stared at the viewscreen, disbelief etched into every line of his face. They anticipated everything. How is this possible? Captain Kate allowed herself a small, measured smile. The battle was not only won, it was a statement. Humanity had faced impossible odds, immense power, and centuries of expectation, yet they emerged victorious. Not through recklessness, not through chaos, but through preparation, intelligence, and unwavering courage.